Gonna need my iPad for this one, because 4 weeks is enough to forget everybody's name. Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching You, Season 4, Episode 6.
Best of Friends.
I had already forgotten I was going to do a bit. I was going to be like, we're watching the new TV show, Phoebe.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
What?
I like her.
Phoebe,
They're going to find some way
and she's blonde, and she wears pink, and she's different than what you thought she was.
But I'm saying they're going to find somebody she's going to find out, and he's going to have to kill her. Ugh.
I mean, I think she might be collateral damage more than I think Joe is going to kill her.
It's a good thing there's no one forcing his hand this season.
I don't think Joe is going to kill Phoebe. I think he'll kill Rhys before he kills Phoebe.
It's a silly show. Like,
Yeah.
it's a dishy,
It's a
gossipy,
soap
soapy show. But having said that, it's well plotted within its genre. Because I could not figure out what they were doing with this character, Dawn.
Especially because she didn't have a lick of dialogue until this episode.
She's been in the background of several scenes, because we both thought she was a paparazzi.
Yeah.
And I thought she was on to Joe and all that. And the way that they used, the way that they established that plot earlier on, semi-misdirected us with it. It used her as an opportunity to further endear us and the audience into Phoebe. And also
it gave Phoebe kind of a kick in the ass, which was warranted.
And one of this show's, I started to say sweet spot, and actually now I don't know sweet spot. Because Joe is despicable. I mean, he's a manipulator and the murderer and all that. But the way in which they managed to keep him likable?
Yeah.
Almost borderline rootable. Like, I find very...
Well, it's in that sense, it's sort of like more this season than previous seasons, but it's sort of like Dexter, where it's like, sure, he's murdering, but we don't want the cops to find out.
Dexter's better. Like, Joe is a badder guy than Dexter is, I think.
No, of course, that's why I said mostly just this season, because his strings are being pulled now. I'm a little bit season 3, because Love was the one that was like making him do all the stuff, but it's like, he is really like, even though his strings are getting pulled, he is always like one bad day away from like just stabbing everybody. So
he actually, no, I'm back to he's the worst. He's terrible.
He's the worst.
Because Love was everything that he wanted, and but he can't actually have that. He needs like
something unattainable.
So that was something I was gonna say that I was having a slightly hard time adjusting to this episode, coming back from the break. I like the break. I like that it kept it in the conversation a little bit longer and that it split it up a little bit. But like I said, coming right off Wolfpack, I was having a hard time.
Yeah.
And also his narration. This show, he's always talking to someone. But it's almost always the object of his affection. And so with this episode, having it be Rhys he was talking to, it kept confusing me.
Sure.
I was like, who is he talking about?
Yeah.
Why is he mad at Kate? And
no. Because, like, the last we were hearing like, season 3, he's talking to, Marian. And now it's, like, only Rhys. Yeah. So he hasn't actually talked to the object of his affection in 2 seasons.
Well, he was talking to Kate at one point.
Yeah. Well, it's switched up a lot this season, yeah.
Apparently, Lady Phoebe and Adam were still together.
Well, after he got, like, clocked in the nose or whatever, like, Joe punched him out, I think she was sort of, like, and they decided to, like, give it another college try.
I think it's interesting, and a show like this needs likable characters, and I think it's interesting that not only is she likable, but she is experiencing growth. And frankly, she handled the Dawn situation really well. I mean, that took up a lot of plot real estate this episode.
It did, and I was actually very impressed from the actress for sure, but the character especially, that she was like able to do so much with that. Her name is Tilly Keeper. It just
Phoebe.
it was just really, really good.
So basically, Dawn was a Lady Phoebe stalker. That's why we thought she was a paparazzi.
Yeah.
And she was trying to keep Lady Phoebe safe from this Eat the Rich killer. Yeah. by locking her in a hotel room and potentially re-giving her their matching tattoos with a knife that was much bigger than needed.
Way too big. Way too big a knife.
And I mean, a good mixture of being sort of not aloof, what people think the word aloof means. Being sort of like, oh, what? Okay.
Sure.
Because she didn't just like go off with this woman.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But she did catch wise quick enough, and her and Joe made an actually decent team. That's another thing that I kind of like about the show.
Yeah.
Is how many of these characters he has chemistry and potential with.
Especially because Phoebe tried to seduce him in part 1, and so they have this like already established kind of kinship, and so like especially with them like talking through the door when Dawn like wasn't opening it, and she was like, "Isn't that right, Jonathan?" It's just like, yeah, it was very good.
So she did properly break up with Adam in this episode.
Yeah.
Well, she told him to work on himself. I don't really know what that means.
No,
but...
she said, fix your problems, your money problems. And if you come back to me, it means you don't need me for my money. You want me for me.
And, I mean, does he?
No, he wants her money. That was the whole deal he made with that man at the beginning.
About giving away his cars?
Yeah, like, well, that was such a bad deal,
yeah,
too.
The man stood...
He was like, no, Adam stood to lose everything, because he was like, you give me your cars and I'll give you a diamond. And if you propose to her, then you've got your meal ticket. Or if she says yes, and he's like, well, what if she says no? And then he's like, well, you return the diamond and I keep your cars. And I was like, so Adam is the shit end of this. Keep the ring and sell it. Whatever.
Connie is apparently, well, he was doing significantly worse.
Yeah.
And is now apparently doing better and maybe going to rehab.
Yeah.
Because the plot of this episode was
Rhys
was trying to blackmail Joe into framing someone with Simon's ear.
Yeah.
And
because also the finger is still out there.
Yeah. It worked beautifully, but there was a part of me that was like, why would the killer be carrying around this decomposing ear?
You're a freaking sicko just walking around murdering people.
And it was Kate was auctioning off Simon's art.
Well, some of Simon's art, and then a bunch of other up-and-coming artists, like, all through, like, her gallery.
And she had a suitor, some Greek shipping heir.
Not my favorite,
Nikos?
Stavros. No, Nico Leandros.
Okay. And he was, I laughed because I was actually right there with you. Like, the man, no offense to this actor,
no.
he was identifiably hot, but it was sort of face blindness.
Yeah.
It was sort of like, insert hot guy here.
Brown hair, brown eyes, sharp jaw.
But the reveal was that he was working for her father, who is still trying to
just, like,
control her?
Show that he's not gone, that he can, like, infiltrate her life, apparently. She's apparently starting some sort of foundation, and so Nico bought all of the art at the show, but it was with Mr. Lockwood's money.
Mm-hmm. And then Roald went somewhere on vacation with his family, so my guess is we'll see him later at some point. And then Rhys, well, Joe and Kate are kind of back together for the first time.
For the first time, I'd say.
They've agreed to leave their sordid history in the past, and she thinks that they couldn't be more on the same page. And there's a part of me that still is skeptical of her.
Well, they are currently, I would say, definitely on the same page right now. They're on the same page. Our pasts are our pasts.
But I mean, I think that she was sort of like, I've made bad choices, and he was like, I've killed a whole bunch of girls.
No,
so I think,
but that's the past, and we're not discussing that anymore. So,
but I think she thinks that they're more.
Of course, she does. Nobody is like, I've made some bad decisions, and I know that you've killed people, but let's leave the past in the past. Also, Nadia is dating Edward now.
And now suspicious of Joe. That was the only thing that felt a little contrived.
Yeah, I agree.
To me.
I agree.
She might be the step too far, the bridge too far in this.
She was also wearing an unhinged raccoon sweatshirt.
It was like evil.
All of the rest of her clothes have been like pretty reasonable, and that sweatshirt was insane.
Oh, Blessing seems terrible.
Blessing's been terrible.
Well, no, has she?
Yes. She hasn't been as terrible as Gemma, but Blessing and Sophie are pretty terrible.
Blessing cons old people out of their money.
We knew that.
We did? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't remember that. So yeah, basically Joe and Kate are together, and then Rhys surprised him with news that they're going to be murdering her dad.
Okay, first of all, it was not a surprise because they were on the sofa with the open blinds, right? The Rhys so far is the only one who has closed the blinds in anyone's apartment. And it also doubly shouldn't have been a surprise because he had already broken into Joe's apartment once this episode. He should have seen that coming.
When Joe walked in and the music was playing, you were like, this son of a bitch.
At a certain point, it can't be a surprise anymore. Also, Joe was trying to break into Rhys's place to, like, meet him, which ended up being moot because Rhys grew up in a council estate, so he knows how to pick locks. That's reductive.
Okay, I think that was about it for this episode, so we're going to move on to the next one.
Bye.